Most swimmers are wasting so much time with warm-up, and they're actually not listening to what their need for a long warm-up is actually telling them. And if you can actually answer that question, if you actually figure out why you need that long warm-up, then you can actually get to a point where you don't need the warm-up, and you're going to feel way, way better. You're going to waste less time in training. You're going to be able to spend more time doing whatever the hell else you want with your life, because you're going to be able to train more and warm up less and stop wasting so much time. So warm-ups. By the way, these videos, I'm doing these kind of first thing in the morning. It's the best time for me to get them in. It's been helping people, so I'm going to keep doing them. You get me kind of like just waking up and groggy, but sorry, and you're welcome. Warm-ups. So many people spend so much time wasting on their warm-ups, right? Like, people tell me, people are asking me, I don't have time to go to the gym and do this stuff, or I don't have time. If you don't have time and you're spending 30 minutes on a warm-up, which is what I've heard many times, then you need to actually start putting your time into the stuff that gets you to the point where you don't need a warm-up, right? Because if you need a big, long warm-up, usually it's because you have distrust in your body. And usually you have distrust in your body because you haven't actually rehabbed past injuries, right? You've still got niggles going on. You've still got your joints are feeling stiff and achy and all this stuff. That's because you're not actually prepared to do the training that you're doing, right? So the first thing you need to look at is, why are you doing this warm-up? Why are you doing long warm-ups? And if the answer is, because I have to feel okay to actually push myself in training, then your answer is usually, just because you're not in fully injured and out of the pool doesn't mean that you don't have injuries that you haven't rehabbed fully. In fact, most swimmers, almost every swimmer out there, has niggling injuries that they have just not ever rehabbed properly, and it's holding them back in terms of, because when you have an injury, if one joint, let's say, isn't completely able to work to its full capacity, if it's not in balance with the rest of your body, then your body is going to tone down that use of that joint, and it's going to tone up tightness in other areas. It's going to tone up compensation patterns and things like that are gradually going to make you less efficient. And that's the main reason most swimmers are going into practice, going into competitions, and they have these niggles, they have these struggles, they can't do their technique properly. Biggest thing is you just aren't dealing with old injuries. And the reason that most people don't deal with old injuries is because your doctors or your physios, if you've been to them, have just told you the general advice if you have an injury is rest, stop doing the thing that's hurting, which is training usually, and you take a bit of time out. They give you a massage, gives you temporary relief of those tight muscles that are doing their job, trying to protect you. So you release those, you feel a little bit better for a bit, and then they give you some low-level exercises that, like band exercises or I don't know, it's getting pretty ridiculous. I've seen some really stuff that is designed for elderly patients in hospices, stuff that wouldn't actually challenge you to the thing of rehab. You have to realize you're trying to, when you get injured or something happens, your joints not feeling good anymore, you have to rehab that. You have to get that joint stronger than before you got injured, because it got injured because it was weak to a point, right? And weakness isn't just how heavy can you lift, it's a bunch of other things. It's how connected is it to your brain, how quickly can you turn those muscles on and off, and loads of other things. But generally it's because that joint wasn't strong enough to handle what you were putting it through, whether that's training, whether that's life. So it doesn't make sense to me that physios, doctors and stuff give you, because they don't understand that you're trying to train at high level. So they give you these low level exercises that they give to everyone who has zero training in their belt. They're just normal people who are going about their life just trying to live a normal life. All they're trying to do is like open a cupboard, pick up a spoon and eat their soup. Like, you're trying to swim at the highest potential level that you possibly can, right? You're trying to push your body to its limit so you can swim as fast as you possibly can. That's why you're here. That's why you're watching these videos. So with that understanding, you have to rehab to a much, much, much higher level than anyone else as a swimmer, right? Or what's going to happen is you have two options. One, you can reduce your training and gradually keep reducing it over time and keep getting softer and softer and keep getting more injured, so you have to do less and less and less. Change your technique, make yourself less efficient, all this stuff, until gradually you're barely swimming and you're in pain all the time basically as well. Anyway, so you're doing that. That's one option. That's not my preferred route. The next option is you can prepare your body with rehab methods, with health methods, with the stuff that we do in our rehab protocols to prepare your body to a level greater than what caused the previous injury, and to prepare your body to be better than any injury that would come before. So you can get to the point where you're bolstering your joints to the point where you can train as hard as you like, and it's not going to be your joints that are holding you back. It's going to be actually your physicality, or it's actually your fitness or whatever that's holding you back. So, where am I going with this? Yeah, rehab. Usually, if you needing to do long warm-ups, usually the first thing that I recommend to people who are doing that, who feel like they need it, are do one of our rehab protocols. The shoulder rehab protocol it's done some great stuff. It's got people who were signed up for surgeries out of surgery. It's got people who haven't swum butterfly in years back to swimming butterfly without any pain. It really, really works. It's pretty intense, but it takes like very low level, very low intensity stuff, and it takes it to the extreme. And that's why it works. We get huge amounts of blood flow to areas that haven't had that much blood flow. We get areas connected to the brain through a full range of motion, and we gradually open that over time, but we do it with not intensity, but we take that to the extreme with this low level stuff. So it's safe and it's challenging you to a point greater than what your swim training is going to challenge you, or life. And that's why we get such good results so quickly. So yeah, I would recommend, if you're needing long warm-ups, instead of doing your warm-up, do one of our rehab protocols for the designated areas that you are freaking out about. Okay, moving on. What do you actually need to do in your warm-up? Warm-up is just like a nervous system boot up. It's just like, hey, we're doing something. Let's trigger the mode that we need to be to do something. And that shouldn't take very much. And the more you train properly, for instance, the more you do stuff like we do in our gym programs, the more your body and mind are going to connect quickly and kind of ramp up the nervous system quickly to a point where, like, boom, okay, I'm ready. I can go and do a race now. So like when I've done racing in the past, after my career, when I was in retirement basically, and did all my PBs, my warm-ups would be very, very short, because that's how I trained in practice. And this is when I went all my PBs. I was doing so little because I was able to ramp myself up so quickly, because that's what I'd practice in training. So by starting your practices with less and getting straight into the good stuff, first of all, you hold your body accountable. You understand, like, okay, if I can't get going after whatever in the pool, if I can't get going after 400 loosener, nice and easy, then there's something in my body that needs rehab work usually, right? I'm not saying, I'm not saying that you shouldn't do warm-ups. I'm just saying you can do a longer warm-up, but if you have to do a longer warm-up, then it's a sign of something else, okay? And what we do in the gym is, first off, we start everything with our neuro-primer, because our neuro-primer is something that I recommend you do every day just as a habit. It's like you can do it with your morning coffee, you can do it before you go to sleep as a nighttime ritual. Wherever you do it, it's something that is going to sync up your brain, it's going to wake up things, it's going to get lymph flowing. It's like an ultimate detox and rewiring. Like it's going to balance everything out in your nervous system. It's going to take the kinks out of the hose, so to speak, and just make everything feel better and make you more able to absorb more from your training. So we start with that. I don't think about it as a warm-up. I think about it actually as training, because it's actually giving us a training benefit and a training result. So that's what I recommend. If you go to our free community, we have our full neuro-primer in there. There'll be a link around here to get into the free community. It's in the classroom section, the neuro-primer. Look through it and just do that every day. It's completely free. It'll help make everything else better. It'll calm you down, but it will make you more focused at the same time. And that's really what we want from a warm-up, is we don't want to just get warm. Getting warm and getting blood flow and stuff, that should be able to happen very, very quickly. Getting your nervous system balanced out is something that the moves that we do in the neuro-primer help that a lot. And it's something that most people, when people start doing this neuro-primer, a lot of people report back and notice, hey, yeah, my mobility's better, I'm feeling much better in the water, I'm able to finish my practices better, because first of all, you're getting into a recovery state more easily. You're taking yourself out of fight or flight, so you can actually go into rest and digest and recovery mode and allow yourself to bounce back and forward between fight and flight and recovery mode much more easily when you when you make this a regular part of your routine. But also, people are having like spiritual releases just because we are giving your brain lots of information through these movements that it hasn't had in a long time. Just moving your spine, moving your neck, moving your spine with our spinal rolling all the way through. That's sending tons of useful inputs into your brain. It's like bombarding your brain with new input, and your brain loves information, it loves inputs, and it loves lots of information, lots of input, and it will reward you when you give it that stuff. So do the neuro-primer. That's what I recommend we start with. But even if we don't start with the neuro-primer, lots of people do the neuro-primer already in there, like I said, like first thing in the morning. That's when I do mine. So then you get to the gym, don't really want to do a neuro-primer again. So you just get straight into the workout, right? If we're lifting or we're doing jumps or whatever, all we do is a couple of sets of that first exercise at a lower intensity. So let's say your first exercise is like an overhead press or something. All you'll do is a couple of sets of overhead press at a moderate weight, and then a little bit heavier weight, and then you get into your first working set. Boom, done. That should be all that you need, right? Just one or two warm-up sets of the exercise that you're starting with. If it's jumps, you just gradually ramp up the intensity of those jumps. If it's altitude drops, you start on the low box, you do a few reps on the low box, move up to a higher box, jump down from the higher box, do a few reps there. And then it shouldn't take you very long And you shouldn't be scared of that first set is the whole point. So you should very quickly be able to get into this point where you're do a couple of sets and you're like, boom, all right, I'm ready to go for my first big set. Here we go. And also, with the stuff that we do in the gym, we're never pushing to like absolute failure. Not on heavy lifting. We're always leaving a couple of reps in the tank. So you're never getting to that point where you're hitting like, oh, we're getting to breaking point here. You should never get to that, lifting heavy stuff. We can get to that if we're doing like isometrics and things like that, because it's very safe. You can go to failure all the way on those, and it's more beneficial to go to failure on those. And you can, because you know you're not going to hurt yourself. So those are the only things we take to failure. Heavy lifting, we do not go to failure. So you're never really getting to this breaking point ever in our sessions anyway. So, and then what's happening is, as you're getting stronger over time, building up your weaknesses in the gym, gradually removing these compensation patterns over time, you're going to feel better. You're going to feel more ready to go. Because like the thing with like these long warm-ups is people that do these long warm-ups need longer and longer warm-ups, right? It's not just like you have the perfect warm-up and you're ready to go. It's 30-minute warm-up and then you're like good to go. Because a few months later, because you haven't done the work that you actually need to do, it's going to catch up with you that you haven't done the proper work. So now you're going to need 35 minutes to do a proper warm-up to feel okay again. And then in 6 months' time, you're going to be doing 45-minute warm-ups. And then before you know it, you're basically screwed, and all your practice is just warm-up all the time. You're never actually getting to do any proper training. You're never actually challenging your body because of what I've talked about in this video, right? So you do not need a very long warm-up, especially if you're a youngster. If you're a youngster and you're needing long warm-ups, like you desperately need to be getting on one of our rehab protocols. You desperately need to be rehabbing those joints. I've made those rehab protocols very short, so they don't take very long, but they're very, very effective, and they will work very quickly. If you're a bit older, I kind of understand that you have been told this by the mainstream that, oh, you're getting old, so your body just can't do stuff anymore. We have seen so many master swimmers breaking PBs in their 50s and 60s even, and it is because they have started getting their joints to a point where it's not the limiting factor holding them back. Most of you master swimmers are much stronger and much fitter than you actually realize that you are, but you're having to hold back because your body is hanging on to old injuries, has the compensation patterns that are making you inefficient. And you understand it when you start doing this stuff, when you start taking care of your joints with the rehab programs that we do, you start to feel lighter, right? You just get used to feeling this heavy tightness all the time. But when you actually train this stuff in a way that it actually sticks, not having a massage, what it basically is that feeling that you get after a massage, feeling lighter, feeling able to move better, except you actually got stronger. So it sticks, right? So you can actually improve it over time. It's like making every time you go to get a massage, you get stronger and you feel better, and the massage makes you feel better, and it sticks. You don't need to go back to get a massage. Anyway, it's early. I'm just kind of ranting now. So I hope this was useful. We don't do long warm-ups. Yeah, if you need a long warm-up, I would just replace your warm-up with stuff that's actually going to help you rehab you better, right? So people with shoulder stuff, I've sent people to, instead of the short, quick warm-up, if you've got shoulder stuff, do the shoulder rehab protocol. It takes like 15 minutes instead of your warm-up. And it's still going to be shorter than your other warm-up, but it's actually going to accumulate gains over time. You're actually going to get better and better and better over time. So that's what I recommend. Don't waste your warm-up. if you need long warm-up, instead use that time with the low-level stuff that you can get stuck straight into to actually rehab the stuff that is a problem for you. Bloody hell, it took 20 minutes. Whoa, nice. Okay. All right, blimmin' hell. See ya.